Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
6:07 now on this Friday morning in your nation's capital, 23rd day of January, as we hunker down. Everyone's hunkering down.
Yes, we are.
Word. You get ready to hunker down for the storm? There is something fun about a weekend snowstorm. Forces you to just, cook some chili, maybe some meatloaf, all the comfort food, beef stew,
and
rice
Netflix
and beans.
and chill, Larry. Like it's like the
right.
time to gain weight. Oh my
Wait,
gosh!
hold on.
Our
Did
church
you just
is
say
fasting,
Netflix
so
and
it's
chill?
like
Netflix and chill means something else,
Really? I thought it meant you have food and you watch a movie.
Oh dear.
No?
All right. I'm not going to tell you. That's an HR thing. Go ahead and look it up. All right. Coming up later in the program, it's 7:05. Marjorie, let me just say this. JD and Usha Vance several months ago, they had an evening where they just they did a little Netflix and chill situation.
Oh, that's what it means?
Coming up at 7:05. Marjorie Dannenfelser will join us on the March for Life because we love babies. That is 7:35. Abe Abish, the challenging market right now, but not so if you know what you're doing close to retirement. And then at 8:35, Representative Scott Fitzgerald, part of that Jack Smith hearing yesterday. Patrice Onwuka.
I'm so innocent sometimes with these things. I'm sorry, folks. I didn't mean it that way. I just meant
kids are just going to hang out,
watch television.
We're going to Netflix and chill. Well, I'm sure that's what it first originally was meant to mean, and then it just took. You know how these things take on a life of their own. Yes, exactly.
Okay.
It's always an educational experience
for me. Yes.
All right, let's play a little Vanilla Ice, shall we? So we can get into this update on your Immigration and Customs Enforcement Corps here in Washington and around the country. ICE, of course. ICE is being slandered. ICE is being defamed. ICE is being absolutely ripped through the slime. Because here's the thing. When you're a Democrat, you've always got to find somebody wearing a badge and enforcing the law to be the enemy. And they figured out here 5-6 years later that defund the police and reimagine policing, unless you're running as a Marxist in New York City, is just political poison. So now you'll see them all. Oh, I never said defund the police, even though they're on record saying defund the police. Now they want to defund ICE, which of course means that they don't want any enforcement of immigration laws. Patrice, let me ask you a question, just hypothetically. If a politician were to run on a platform of defunding the IRS and saying, sure, we're going to have an income tax, but we're not going to have any auditors or any enforcement of the income tax laws, which, by the way, for the record, I'd be perfectly fine with. But if that politician were to run on that platform, would it be fair to say that that politician really didn't care if our income tax laws were followed or violated? Really wasn't a priority for them?
It would be very fair to say that, yes.
Well, then when you say defund and dismantle and abolish ICE, you're saying that you don't really care if immigration laws are being followed or being enforced. So, of course, the only way to get through this is to continue to lie about ICE, and lying they have done. Here's the headline. ICE detains 4 children, including a 5-year-old boy, school officials say. You saw this story catching fire yesterday, right? It was everywhere, went viral. I cannot believe ICE in Minnesota detained children, including a 5-year-old, an Ecuadorian boy, both in the country legally, by the way, as asylum applicants, whisked off to a family detention facility in Texas. This is outrageous. Here's the problem. It's not true. I do. This is my favorite part of the Reuters article. Liam wearing a blue hat and a Spider-Man backpack watched as masked agents took his father from the driveway of their home. The Spider-Man
it's like they're setting him up
backpack.
to be the next Spider-Man hero. This is going to turn him into a vigilante for justice. That's exactly what that does.
Yeah. The Spider-Man backpack is definitely – because here's the thing. Understanding how the media works. Was there a reporter standing there in the driveway to witness the fact that the little boy was wearing a Spider-Man backpack?
Probably not.
No, absolutely not. So how did the reporter know that the little boy was wearing a Spider-Man backpack? Well, they interviewed somebody and said, so tell me, what did the little boy, did he have a backpack? What was the character on the backpack? You know, they get all these details in the story so that they can make it look like an atrocity. Washington Post, ICE agents in Minnesota have detained at least 4 children from the same school district this month, including a 5-year-old boy. School officials accused ICE officers of using the 5-year-old as bait to lure his father out of the house. Interesting. If you actually drill down into that Washington Post article, you see this sentence. The father fled on foot when ICE officers approached him, DHS said. For the child's safety, one of the ICE officers remained with the child while the other officers apprehended Mr. Conejo Arias. Oh, so wait a second. They used the kid as bait for the father. Meanwhile, the father hightailed it and fled and left his 5-year-old there.
Yes. This case becomes even more interesting, Larry, when we read what the Homeland Security put out. They said that agents approached this man who fled on foot, abandoning his child, as you just pointed out. The officers made multiple attempts to get the child's mother, who was inside of the house, to take custody. And guess what? She said no. She refused to accept custody of her own child. The father then told officers he wanted the child to remain with him. So ICE was now keeping this family together, these children, this child with his son, because the child's own mother abandoned the child. Like that's really what should be reported, but wow, that got left out of the story somehow, Larry.
All of that got left out of the story. Isn't that amazing? So every time you see a headline that looks awful and I cannot believe ICE acted like Nazis. I cannot believe that ICE acted so inhumanely. I cannot believe that ICE is really Trump's private army and security force of secret agents who are out there wreaking havoc on innocent. There's a reason why you can't believe it. Because for the most part, none of it is true. Absolutely none of it is true.
Yeah, the child was not arrested, and they were keeping families together.
And they were trying to protect so the dad is out there with the 5-year-old boy. Dad sees ICE. Dad abandons his 5-year-old and runs away. ICE says to the mom, could you take this 5-year-old so we could do our job? Mom says, I don't want anything to do with that 5-year-old. So here's ICE with a 5-year-old. What do? Well, you protect the kid. You put him into a facility so that he can believe, because he's now, frankly, an orphan because dad and mom have abandoned him. That's not ICE detaining a child and using the child as bait to lure the father. That's ICE acting humanely to take care of the child that's been abandoned.
It is so vile for these news outlets to report it as a flat out lie, but they do this intentionally to shape a narrative that catches fire. Oh, and then maybe the cleanup happens after, but how many people know the actual details? How many people find the follow-up and the cleanup, that the real explanations? Very few compared to the masses who hear the first story.
Our friends at Media Research Center, I believe it was Nicholas Von Caro's coverage, or maybe it was Newsbusters writ large, analyzed the way the events in Minneapolis have been covered by the networks for the last several weeks. 93% of the coverage and stories were negative toward ICE and toward the Trump administration for enforcing immigration laws. Most of those laws written, voted on, and passed by Democrats. All right, coming up, the people of Minnesota, and specifically all the ICE agents working on behalf of the federal government and the American people to enforce those immigration laws, they had a high-profile visit and a sound of support, moral support, coming from the Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance. You'll hear what he had to say in a moment. First, though, at 6:15.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
Brought to you by the National Air Traffic Controllers Association. We guide you home. NATCA.org.
So in the midst of all of the misinformation and the lies, as we just laid out there, having to do with ICE and trying to label and slander these federal agents who are enforcing immigration and customs laws as some sort of monsters and stormtroopers and such. The Vice President of the United States showed up in Minneapolis to lend his support to those very ICE agents and other law enforcement officials in the Gopher State who are actually helping out and participating in keeping law and order. And he had plenty to say about that, and he had plenty to say also about the assault on the church in St. Paul, where Christians were interrupted in the middle of their worship service. We did see arrests there yesterday, and the Vice President, had something to say about it.
Right now we're focused on Minneapolis because that's where we have the highest concentration of people who have violated our immigration laws, and that's also, frankly, where we see the most assault of our law enforcement officers. I mean, our plan is very simple. If you assault a federal law enforcement officer, we're going to do everything that we can to put you in prison. It's very simple. And most of these protesters, as much as I may disagree with their politics, most of them have been peaceful, but a lot of them have not been peaceful. And if you go and storm a church, if you go and assault a federal law enforcement officer, we're going to try very hard. We're going to use every resource of the federal government to put you in prison. Respect people's rights. Respect people's rights to worship. Respect people's rights to do their job without being assaulted. If you follow that basic principle, the Trump administration is going to do everything that we can to protect your rights. But if you go after somebody, if you assault somebody, if you make a 9-year-old girl cry because you walked into her church and harassed her, we're going to go after you with every single tool that we have.
He's very good at that. And by the way, this was the part of the presentation where he was taking questions on that open mic and podium of the media, and he's very good at putting a very reasonable face on these policies and putting it in those terms, which is like, listen, you can protest all you want, and most of the people are peaceful, but if you go in and you interrupt a church while people are worshiping, or if you assault a federal officer, we're going to put you in prison. Who can argue with that?
Yeah, or if you harass a little 8-year-old girl to the point that she's crying. I mean, I think he did a masterful job. He's a very good communicator at particularly at making things that other people want us to make seem opaque or complex, very simple, very reasonable, very commonsensical.
Yeah. He was also asked, by the way, about this story that we just delved into, this lie that a 5-year-old boy was detained and arrested. ICE. And he was asked about that. His answer:
well, I'm proud of the fact that we're standing behind law enforcement, and I'm proud of the fact that we're enforcing the country's laws. But, you asked a question about this 5-year-old kid. I actually saw this terrible story while I was coming to Minneapolis. We just left Toledo, Ohio this morning for an economic messaging event. And I see this story, and I'm a father of a 5-year-old, actually, a 5-year-old little boy. And I think to myself, oh, my God, this is terrible. How did we arrest a 5-year-old? Well, I did a little bit more follow-up research. And what I find is that the 5-year-old was not arrested, that his dad was an illegal alien, and then when they went to arrest his illegal alien father, the father ran. So the story is that ICE detained a 5-year-old. Well, what are they supposed to do? Are they supposed to let a 5-year-old child freeze to death? Are they not supposed to arrest an illegal alien in the United States of America? If the argument is that you can't arrest people who have violated our laws because they have children, then every single parent is going to be completely given immunity from ever being the subject of law enforcement. That doesn't make any sense. No.
He's, again, I compare, even if you disagree with the vice president, compare his tone, his approach, and the reasonable, logical arguments that he's making to what you're seeing from Governor Tim Walz, Mayor Jacob Fry, and from Attorney General Keith Ellison with the histrionics, encouraging people to get in the face of law enforcement, the rhetoric of it's us against the federal government. It's like Gettysburg. We're at war with ICE. Get the F out of Minneapolis and all that. You compare and contrast about where these two representatives of our government and how they're approaching this issue. And Vance and the Trump administration come off looking pretty damn good here, I think.
Yeah, I want to see Vice President Vance out there even more, especially on this issue. The left, all they do is pull your emotions. They want to manipulate your emotions because they know the facts don't bear out. I think Vance is doing a great job at saying, hey, you can appeal a little bit of an emotional from the perspective of a father. I wouldn't want to see a little 5-year-old child left alone too. But let me do some more research, and that's when you uncover the truth. And I think that's important.
Right. One final thought on this. If you really are worried about children, if you're worried about children of migrant families, illegal or not, let me just tell you something. during 4 years of Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and Alejandro Mayorkas, more children were trafficked into this country.
Yes.
More children were exploited by the drug cartels and by the coyotes. More children were put in harm's way during those 4 years than anything that what's going on right now. If anything, this administration is going and trying to rescue those children and bring
and reunite them with
to those
exactly 300,000 kids disappeared. Yeah,
I don't want to
Biden?
hear
No.
from you about your concern about children
That's
unless
right.
you start on the first day of the Biden administration and look at what happened to children then.
Exactly.
It's 6:24.
All right, coming up, it's March for Life Day. We've got so much coverage on what's going to be happening on the National Mall. Plus, what happens if you have a multi-million-dollar house and a squatter takes over? We'll talk about the local story that's raising some hair on the backs of homeowners' decks. It's O'Connor and Company at 6:30.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. WMAL. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
6:37 on O'Connor and Company. Good morning. Busy Friday here as we hunker down and prepare for the storm this weekend. Lots of news going on and events as well. With the March for Life today in your nation's capital, we'll speak at 7:05 to the president of the Susan B. Anthony Pro-Life America organization. 7:35, Abe Abish of Abish Financial Services will talk to us about retirement plans, the market this week, the economy, stocks, and a whole lot more. 8:35 brings us Congressman Scott Fitzgerald of Wisconsin, who's part of that Jack Smith hearing. We're going to play a Brandon Gill from that hearing, too. That was pretty amazing.
Okay.
A lot of that going on. Also, fresh off of her appearance on Capitol Hill in the Oversight Committee, it's our friend Patrice Onwuka. You know, last week it was your son stealing the show in the Oval Office. Now you're up on Capitol Hill. Good Lord, Patrice, we can't keep up with you.
Well, you know, everyone I saw on the Hill said, "We saw you. We saw your son. He stole the show."
Well, listen, this O'Connor and Company is nothing if not the morning show of movers and shakers in your nation's capital. Good time, by the way, real fast to give you a very quick update on our friend Julie Gunlock, who is the third trifecta here in terms of on-air personalities that makes O'Connor and Company go. Things are going well with her, progressing quite a bit in her recovery here from her health emergency from 2.5 weeks ago. I can't believe it's 2 weeks and a couple of days ago. Keep those prayers coming. She's moving along and advancing the ball down the field, as it were, and we'll have her back soon. Not soon enough, but we'll have her back soon. And if you want to donate and help the family out during this time of crisis for them and offer your prayers up to her, go to givesendgo.com/Julie Gunlock. Givesendgo.com/Julie Gunlock. And there's a part there, again, there is a give part of it, but you don't have to give. You can pray. And frankly, that's the most important thing you can do. Click that button at givesendgo.com/Julie Gunlock and let us know you are praying. Thank you for your attention to this matter. In Maryland, there are some radical squatter laws that, if interpreted incorrectly, allows people to basically take ownership of someone else's house and live in it undisturbed. A woman tried that in a $2.3 million house in Bethesda, and take a listen to what happened.
Spotlight on Maryland reported in December about two alleged squatters who took over a $2.3 million house in Bethesda.
Just make this very clear.
Tamika Good, the squatter and self-described pro se litigation coach,
you can't be doing regular people
featured the estate in a TikTok video posted on her account just 6 days ago. Good was charged last year with multiple counts of burglary, trespassing, and other crimes associated with her squatter takeover of a multi-million-dollar Bethesda home.
Hi, Miss Tamika Good. Do you believe that squatting is a crime? Why are you in a $2.5 million property, Miss Good?
After 3.5 hours of arguing her case before a judge as her own representative, we attempted to make contact during the trial's lunch break.
Get out my face.
Ma'am, why are you in a $2.5 million property?
Meanwhile, after Montgomery County Police followed Good into the garage to survey her actions, she went back to the courthouse to argue her case for another hour and a half. Judge John C. Moffitt gave remarks before he made the ruling, telling Good she had some demented thoughts to justify squatting. The prosecution replied, "This is frankly nuts." Good was found guilty on all counts of burglary and breaking and entering and immediately sentenced to 90 days in prison.
I think the District Court of Maryland did the right thing today.
Ian Chen, a 19-year-old living with his parents in a neighboring house to the home Good occupied, brought the case before a Maryland commissioner's office because he said he wanted to take back the neighborhood from criminals.
I felt it was my civic duty to do the right thing, to file these charges, and then to ultimately bring her to justice here today.
Another witness in Good's trial, who asked not to be named for safety concerns, says he blames the state for a lack of action in what he says was terror.
There was a law that was trying to get passed to kind of streamline the process, but I think that got shot down. Make a rational, concise decision to change the rules where it differentiates a squatter from a legal tenant.
All right, so that's Gary Collins, by the way, with Sinclair News with the report. Where to begin on this, Patrice? I mean,
it is insane. I mean,
she put it all on her TikTok and Instagram and bragged about it and presented herself as some sort of like litigation consultant and advisor. So she's advising other people to do this. Did you see how she was dressed? I mean,
this life coach, you mean? Yeah. She's a piece of work. And unfortunately, she's doing what, frankly, the Somali fraudsters are doing in Minnesota, exploiting loopholes in the law and exploiting the system to your advantage. It's disgusting, though.
It is disgusting. And honestly, I got to tell you, I'm shocked that she got convicted. I expected a judge in Bethesda to say, well, you know.
By the way, yes, looking at how she's dressed with her Louis Vuitton carry tote bag, her probably Prada high heel shoes.
Look at those shoes.
And what could be a Brazilian enhancement to her derriere, very likely.
She got a butt job? You think she got a butt job?
It just looks that way. I don't know for sure.
A Brazilian enhancement to her derriere, says Patrice Onwuka.
And a very nice luxe leather jacket. She is what I see pop up on my Instagram feed, telling me how I can control my life by following her masterclass. Yes.
Can I just say that based on how this woman is dressed, I think it's worth investigating as to whether some other crimes took place inside this house other than squatting.
I wouldn't be investigating whether she is getting housing vouchers, SNAP. I mean, all of the welfare benefits. Ooh. I would be investigating. All of those agencies need to look into this lady.
So she's convicted there, shockingly, after many hours of testimony. But I don't know if you caught it. The sentence, 90 days in jail. She got to live in this $2.3 million mansion in Bethesda for like over a year. And the trade-off is 90 days and orange is the new black. Okay. We'll see. I think we need some major reform to the squatter laws, that this was even a close call.
And there was a bill. I remember submitting testimony in the Maryland legislature for it, and it didn't go anywhere. Thank you, Maryland. Thank you, Maryland.
It's 6:43. Oh, lordy. Today is the March for Life, as we mentioned, and coming up in just about 15 minutes, we're going to talk to the president of Susan B. Anthony Pro-Life America about the march and the fact that, miraculously it's happening before the snowstorm hits. I remembered several times over the course of the last couple of years where the march is in the middle of the snow.
Severe cold snaps, too.
Yeah.
Those have also been common.
But it's joyful. It's joyful. For those of you who care about the issue of life and abortion and the culture of death, sadly, that we lived through for so many decades here in this country, you'll be happy with this news. A lot of people think that the abortion issue is off the table now. It's in the hands of the states. Roe v. Wade is gone. This story is done. Well, no, there's still a lot of sort of lingering evil that gloms on to the abortion issue that is still ingrained into our federal government and the way we go about our lives in this nation. But yesterday, the NIH, National Institute of Health, made an announcement under the Trump administration that it's healing part of that wound. The Trump administration announced yesterday that human fetal tissue coming from abortions can no longer be used in research at the National Institutes of Health.
Wow.
It was one of the more ghoulish aspects of abortion in America. It created a market for these organizations, first and foremost Planned Parenthood, to sell
Yes.
The dead
Used
corpses
body parts.
of these killed babies, the organs. It's just, to get into the details is so ghoulish and so despicable.
Yes.
And they profited off of this. And I have no doubt that it will still go on with private corporations and private medical facilities who might do this research, or maybe universities who are getting some level of corporate endorsement, but it will no longer happen with your tax dollars in your name at the federal government level, and that is a step in the right direction too.
It absolutely is. I'm just reading here the reporting. The government has funded this research involving fetal tissue for decades under both Republican and Democratic administrations. And it's used for critical research such as fighting HIV and cancer. But Dr. Bhattacharya, the NIH director, said the agency has long maintained policies governing the responsible use of human fetal tissue, and now I guess that's coming to an end. And so I think that's a really important step that the Trump administration made. Other Republican presidents could have done this, and they didn't. And so, I do hope that the pro-life community recognizes that this is a win, and it's important that it comes right, as we're marching for life today.
Yeah, and there's still vestiges of this. There's still problems that need to be fixed up. By the way,
but it's a big step.
It is a big step, and apparently, as of 2024, there were still 77 projects that were funded that included fetal tissue for investigations. The NIH document says that the policy doesn't end the use of cell lines created years ago from fetal cells. That was something that was debated and determined under the George W. Bush administration. And by the way, I remember that debate quite vividly, and I know that this announcement as well is going to get face the same criticism, where if you announce that you are not doing this sort of thing, this ghoulish behavior, they call you anti-science. They call you anti-science, that you don't want to use the fetal tissue and organs of aborted babies to do medical research. And if that means being anti-science, by the way, these days, being anti-science, I think, is a badge of honor.
It is. It means that you shouldn't separate. You shouldn't force people to die without others or surrounding them because you're scared of catching something that you could be protected against. It's just it's ridiculous.
I want to be on that team.
And life versus science, there is no distinction here. You can support both, and the left is wrong for trying to hijack science in some way.
Amen. Coming up, like I said, we'll speak with Marjorie Dannenfelser with March for Life coming up in just about 10 minutes. It's 6:53.